Today I'm going to be reading Izuku's Gone Beautiful by TJA_the_Collinger on AO3. The rating is teen and up, and the warning is major character death. This fic is 1,710 words long in one chapter. Summary. After the USJ, many classmates students adopt different coping mechanisms. Momo and Ida would read more, Kyoko would listen to more music, and Kaminari would tell darker jokes. But none were as weird as Izuku's, who started wearing flowers in his hair. SCP-001 Izu, The World's Gone Beautiful. I'm going to skip over the notes because it's just letting you know of a mass update. The first day back from school since the USJ. It was the first day back from school since the USJ incident. Most of one I had their own way of coping. Ida began to read more. Yayurozu would spend more time reading, and Shiro would listen to more music. Dinky himself had switched from flirtatious jokes to darker ones. But no one could compete with the absurd coping mechanism of Midoriya. Not even Koda, who would use any animal as a comfort. Midoriya, on the other hand, began to wear flowers in his hair, which was not something any of his classmates had expected. Not even Bakugo, who'd gone to the same school as him before UA. Time skip. It had been a week since school had begun again, and Dinky, along with many of his other classmates, had slowly begun reverting back to their old selves, though not entirely. Dinky was somewhat surprised when he entered the class to see Midoriya and even more flowers. He was starting to question his original assumption that it was a coping mechanism. But he kept it to himself, and he tried to ignore Midoriya because he had something else that he needed to focus on. The upcoming sports festival. He knew everyone in the school would be competing for first place except for the matchmaking class, but he didn't really care. That just meant less competition. Time skip. It was a big day. The sports festival had arrived, and Dinky was currently trying to focus, but his attention was consistently pulled back to other things. And now it was honed in on the conversation between Todoroki and Midoriya, who was basically covered in flowers at this point. They were all called out into the field, and Dinky was doing breathing exercises to calm his nerves. They didn't really work, though. He still felt nervous. Midnight called Midoriya up on the podium in order for him to give a speech. Most students are trying to become heroes, not just those within the hero course, but in general education, who couldn't or didn't make it into the hero course. For one reason or another, and those in the support course who chose an alternative path. Midoriya looked around before continuing his speech. There are also students who didn't want to be heroes, and they are valid as well, whether they in gen ed, or the support course, management course, or somewhere else. It doesn't matter. A few words for everyone here, whether they want to be a hero or have other dreams. The crowd was enraptured by the speech, with many people at the edge of the seats. Go beyond. A large portion of the crowd was already screeching, awaiting Midoriya to finish their quote, and Midoriya whispered it out into the mic. Plus ultra. Dinky had to cover his ears because of the noise. The first challenge was the obstacle course of 1 kilometer. Dinky readied himself and fully prepared to run away. He flinched when he heard Pleasant Mike shout and began running, attempting to dodge everyone else's attacks. He made it past the mass of students at the start. He found himself at the very first obstacle. He saw a massive army of robots, ranging from simple one-pointers to several zero-pointers. Somehow, he made his way into the onslaught, dodging several bullets in the process. He arrived at the pit. President Mike then explained that they would have to cross the pit by using the ropes connecting the pillars scattered throughout. Dinky created a very simple blunt in his head and ran. Dinky opened his eyes and saw that he was at the final stretch, which looked like a simple run to the exit, though the ground was somewhat bumpy. He had to dash straight through the dirt when President Mike told him about the landmines buried underneath the dirt. Surprised by his sudden announcement, Dinky activated his quack, which in turn activated several of the mines close to him. He was mostly engulfed by explosions being picked up by someone who used the velocity explosions to send 2 of them to the finish. After he stopped moving, he opened his eyes and saw a face covered in flowers. He quickly thanked Midoriya, who just smiled at him before walking away, waiting for the next challenge to be announced. The Cavalier battle was chosen, and Dinky decided to team up with Todoroki. During the entire game, Todoroki was focused on Izuku's headband because he had gotten the 10,000,000.1. Thankfully, someone from his team managed to get Todoroki to get out some other points so they would be able to continue. And in the final moments, the three biggest teams were in a single battle: Bakugo, Todoroki, and Midoriya, the first two trying to steal the latter's headband. In the end, Midoriya held on, having received minimal damage. The students were given a few minutes to regain their energy before they would have one-on-one battles. Most of the battles weren't that interesting. They were either over in a few seconds or the same thing for 10 minutes straight. He was still surprised by the battle between Kirishima and Tetsu. Now they seemed to be perfectly in sync. The seventh battle would be him versus Abura Shoziya from 1B. He was about to leave, and Midoriya told him to avoid going all out, but keep the actor from going dumb. At first, he chuckled at the idea, but while walking to the battle, he started thinking about it. Moments later, he's standing across from Shiozaki, the vine-haired girl. Looking at him with seemingly no emotion, he decided to ask her on a date, a distraction technique, and if she accepted, he'd be fine with that too. She said something about the Lord, which I think he didn't really catch. She also seemed more agitated, which meant the trick had worked. Once midnight started the match, he activated his quirk with less force than usual. He realized that since he was still conscious, but he acted as if he shifted into his dum-dum mode. Though he did signal to Midnight that he wasn't really taken out, so she wouldn't end the match. Shiozaki, thinking that she could just toss him on a win, was surprised when she walked closer and he jumped back to life and shocked her. Dinky was shocked, pun intended, that had worked, as well as by the fact that he could still think clearly. The last battle of the first round was Midoriya against Shinzo, who could be placed in the first category, since it seemed like Midoriya was unaffected by Shinzo's quirk. The battles in the second round were longer than the first round on average, with outliers like Todoroki, who ended his battle on a single attack. The last battle was Kaminari versus Midoriya. The two faced each other, and when Midoriya told him to go all out, Kaminari listened, was surprised by this, but decided since Midoriya's strategy had worked last time, he listened. He charged up his greatest attack, and when Midnight started the match, he released it. He saw the massive arcs of lightning traveling across the field to a smiling Midoriya, who gave a thumbs up before he redirected lightning back at Kaminari. "Call me Izuku," were the last words Dinky heard before passing out. When Dinky woke up, he was in the medical wing. The recovery girl noticed he was awake and told him what had happened, and told him he was good enough to go back to the bleachers. Dinky ran to the bleachers and it was time to watch the next battle, which was between Izuku and Todoroki. The battle was longer than Todoroki's previous battles, which wasn't really that high of a bar, considering those were finished in a few seconds. Dinky barely noticed how Izuku seemed to be screaming at Todoroki, who was trying to deny everything. Dinky was trying to figure out what he was saying when the arena blew up. Turns out Izuku wanted Todoroki to use fire, and he succeeded. Again. Izuku managed to stay in the ring while his opponent was blown out, meaning Izuku would be going to the finale. There was a break of a few minutes before the last battle would be fought, and Kaminari was dragged away from his usual film group of Kirishima and Ashido by Izuku, who sat next to him at a table with Todoroki and Araka, the former looking like he just got dragged there, while the latter looked happier. Izuku was worrying about the final battle between him and Bakugo, and he was asking what to do, and Dinky threw an offhand comment about doing rock, paper, scissors. Izuku turned to look at Dinky, who was starting to panic, when Izuku thanked him, which of course just kind of left him confused. Not long thereafter, the final began. The two competitors standing across from one another, and when the match began, they started playing rock, paper, scissors. Instead of simply winning when you won a match, they would attack the other if they won, and in case of a tie, both would attack. 10 minutes later, Bakugo gave up. Midnight just announced who the special guest would be before the award ceremony, right as All Might arrived, the two apologizing to each other. All Might started off by giving the bronze medal to Tokiami and Todoroki. He also gave them some advice. Then he moved on to Bakugo on the second place pedestal. The student did not look happy, but All Might couldn't remember a time where he did, apart from the time when he told the class about battle training. He gave them the silver medal for moving on to first place, Midoriya Izuku. his successor. He gave him a gold medal and gave him some pointers as well. Udare was then handed a mic in order to perform a speech. He calmed himself down and looked around and spoke 2 words in the microphone. "Thank you." He then fell forwards off the pillar. All flowers across his body were dead. He had died. And that's all I have for today. That was Izuku's Gone Beautiful. Out to amazing fic, honestly. I feel so glad that I was allowed to fic this one. This is a legitimately amazing fic. I hope you all have a great day. Drink water, eat food, and preferably don't die. Goodbye.